In the UFC, 8 years is an eternity. It's enough time for a champion to rise to fame, get the belt, lose the belt, take some losses, and be out of the UFC. And for the fighter we're discussing today, throughout the 8 years of his UFC career, he had been completely forgotten by the fans, assuming that he had hit a skill ceiling and will now fade into obscurity. But now, 6 years later, after the peak of his hype, with now 5 consecutive wins, 3 of which were as underdogs, he is now back with a number beside his names as he joins the rankings in bantamweight. This is the rise, the fall, and the rise again of Raoni Barcelos. At the age of 30 and a professional record of 10-1, Raoni Barcelos was the definition of a high think he has lots of skill but not much claim to his name. So if you fight him and you win, you passed a really hard test, but you don't really get much from it because no one knows or cares who he is. And then you lose, and now it's like, great, now you forever have the stain on your record of a Raoni Barcelos loss, and you don't even get the credit for it because despite being skilled, he's not that popular. You not gaining much from winning or losing from Raoni Barcelos is especially true with him because, like I said, at 30 years old, he joined the UFC. So it seems like he's already getting towards the tail end of his career. In the bantamweight division, fighters don't fight for too long. Probably around like the average age bantamweights retire at is like probably around 36. So if Raoni Barcelos fights as much as the average fighter, which is probably like once every 10 months, he's only gonna have like 6, maybe 7 fights in his UFC career. Regardless of his somewhat advanced age for joining the promotion, Raoni Barcelos, in his 2018 debut, slimes out this multi-promotion champion with one of the most beautiful combos I've ever seen. Maybe Raoni Barcelos had more power in this because this was at 145 opposed to 135 where he normally fights at now. But either way, this is such a nice knockout, especially considering that Raoni Barcelos was an underdog for this fight. And his second fight is honestly just as spectacular. This brutal ground and pound leading to a second round rear naked choke. And then in his third fight in the UFC, he would get another ground and pound finish followed by 2 decision wins, meaning he's now on a 5-fight win streak after debuting in the UFC until the fall off. For the next 3 years, Raoni Barcelos would only win 1 of his 6 UFC bouts that he competed in. Until 2024, Raoni Barcelos got his swagger back a bit and finally got a dub in the promotion. In the UFC, generally as the more losses you get, the matchmakers give you lesser and lesser skilled opponents. So that's kind of what happened with Raoni Barcelos here. He was given a guy who was now 2-2 in the UFC. Raoni Barcelos' opponent was essentially cannon fodder and like a low risk investment type thing for UFC, where the UFC signs him for basically the smallest contract that they give out to fighters. So it's like, okay, if they go in there and they get steamrolled for their couple fights in the promotion, it's like, okay, you didn't invest much money and now you just gave your actually good talent a stepping stone and another win under their belt. Meanwhile, okay, if this guy starts doing good, great, now you have another great fighter on your roster and you don't have to pay him much to do it. That's who Raoni Barcelos was fighting. Basically, someone who the UFC doesn't care about because they don't see too much in him. So after this win, 11 months later, Raoni Barcelos was scheduled in a bout at 135 with the scorching hot prospect Payton Talbott. Like I said, Raoni Barcelos made his UFC debut at 30 years old. By this time in 2024 here, when this fight took place, Raoni Barcelos was like 37 or 38. I'm not sure exactly when his birthday is. So it's like, talk about advanced age. At this point, Raoni Barcelos is past the age that most fighters retire at bantamweight and was on a clear downwards trajectory in his career at the time of taking this fight. That was only like 2 wins in like 6 years or something, both of which over some mid-ass opponents. So with all that said, Payton Talbott was a minus 1,200 favorite, meaning that you need to bet $1,200 on Payton Talbott to make a measly $100 profit. Because of how much the sport books think that Payton Talbott is gonna win, they think, no, why am I gonna pay you lots of money? So they set the odds at such unfavorable odds. If you put $100 on Raoni Barcelos this night, or you would have made over $700 in profit just because of how little people thought Raoni Barcelos was gonna win. In fact, with over 7,700 predictions on Tapology, only 2% picked Raoni Barcelos, because no one thought he was going to win because of all the stuff I said before, right? With the age and the loss. There's only 2 wins being over some mid opponents. Literally, no hyperbole, no metaphor, literally defining the odds. Raoni Barcelos goes out there and he puts on a borderline masterclass. Honestly, it was such a great performance he had against Payton Talbott. Nobody thought he was gonna do this. Nobody thought he was gonna do this, but he did it regardless. And I and a lot of people lost some money this night, which I just want to say before we move forward in this story, I just want to say that there seems to be some supernatural undertone of this fight, of cosmic reason why Raoni Barcelos won, and I made a whole separate video about that, so I'm gonna link it here, and I want you guys to go watch that to understand perhaps the real reason Raoni Barcelos won this fight. And after watching it, you're not gonna think it's a conspiracy video, you're gonna think it's just a blatant facts video. Since that emphatic win, Raoni Barcelos has had 3 consecutive wins in the UFC, and he currently has no scheduled bout because he just had his last fight that got him his ranking in April, literally last month. And I still think he's gonna do good because yes, I know this is like the 4th time I said it, but despite his advanced age, Raoni Barcelos is like looking really good. I went and watched footage of Raoni Barcelos to make this video, right? And it's like he doesn't look any degraded from 2018 to now. So I think this guy's gonna keep doing the thing despite being 37. And also I just want to mention, I wonder if these 3 consecutive wins after Payton Talbott is like him riding the high, you know? Is it that mental shift that you get when you finally catch such a good dub in your life, you know? A forward momentum type of thing. So before we end this video, I just quickly want to go over the UFC rankings and see who could Raoni Barcelos beat. How high can this guy climb in the bantamweight division? So right now, Raoni Barcelos is sitting at rank 14 out of 15 total ranks in the division, with Farid Basharat being the only guy above him. Right below Raoni Barcelos at 13 is Raul Rosas Jr. I think Raoni Barcelos actually does Raul Rosas Jr. pretty bad. Raul Rosas has great jiu-jitsu, but he's kind of mid everywhere else, and he had like a year-long layoff after having 1 or 2 mid performances, and he came back and he looked the same as he did before, which is showing not much development. So I don't think he's going to be getting much better, and I think Raoni Barcelos could easily beat Raul Rosas Jr. with the pretty fundamental wrestling that Raul Rosas has. So we have Vinicius Oliveira at rank 12. To be honest, I don't know, because I only ever watched 2 of Vinicius Oliveira fights. But to be honest, I'm not entirely sure, because Vinicius Oliveira is notorious for his power. But in my opinion, he gasses really bad, as in he like uses all his stamina quickly. But more importantly, that when he does, is he becomes so open. His hands are at his hips, which is okay if you're really good, but Vinicius Oliveira is not really good, so it's like it just leaves him. And it's like, yeah, in his last fight he got subbed, I believe, if I remember correctly, by Mario Batista. But it's like, hey, whatever, Mario Batista is like now one of these staple guys at bantamweight, and we know he has great everything. So him getting subbed by Mario Batista doesn't necessarily mean that Vinicius Oliveira has background game, even though he might, but I'm not saying he doesn't. So above that at rank 10, somehow, literally somehow, we have Chito Vera. Yeah, easy work. Next. But then at rank 9 is David Martinez, who's like, I would say is on Raoni Barcelos' skill level. So I don't know if he could beat him. I don't know how he's all the way down here, but somehow Mario Batista is only rank 8 after all he's done within the last 2 years. I think Raoni Barcelos 100% loses to him. And then somehow above that at rank 7 is Davison Figueiredo. Raoni Barcelos does easy work with him. Like, watch, Davison Figueiredo is fighting this weekend, and Song Yadong is going to make light work of him. Then above him at rank 6 is where Raoni Barcelos can, no question, not beat these guys. Ayman Zahavi is probably the only one that would actually be pretty competitive, but no, he's not beating him. Song Yadong, just striking's too fast and too powerful. Corey Sandhagen, not a fan of the guy. I don't think he's that skill for skill that good either, but he looked too good in the Merab fight. So if that's how he's looking at his last fight, and like beating Raoni Barcelos easy. Sean O'Malley, not beating him. And then Umar's the decision king, man. And then he's obviously not beating Merab, Peter Yan. But Vinicius Oliveira, Raul Rosas Jr., Chito Vera, Payton Talbott, which you already beat, Raoni Barcelos could easily be ranked like beginning of next year. Actually, maybe even after his next fight, if he wins, he'll be ranked by the end of this year, honestly. But anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for 100 subscribers. I'm now at 101 subscribers already. Then I had that video hit 1,000 views. I'm so stoked about that. And then I'm checking my YouTube studio right now. Let's see if this video is at 1,000 views yet. You can see here my old versus new YouTube video. is at, oh, I'm really close now, is at 997 views. So that's going to be 2 videos to hit 1,000 views, and then I hit 100 subscribers this in May as well. So it's like this month has been crazy for the channel. I'm feeling super motivated. I'm gonna have some like I'm gonna try and drop like 3 videos related to UFC Freedom 250, and I feel like that's gonna boost the channel as well. So honestly, I'm thinking like I'm gonna try and get like, I think I can get like 50 subscribers this month alone in June. Actually, start in June. This is the last. It's May 27th as a recording, so this is the last video I'm gonna be posting in May. So watch 150 subscribers in June. Watch it happen. Anyways, guys, like I said, thanks for watching. Peace.